right, welcome to the Queen City Soccer Show. I'm Level Up Luke. I am rolling solo today because Cole is currently on vacation. I saw some pictures of him at the beach. He has been catching fish and living his best life, so we'd love to see it. In the meantime, I'm here to give you guys a weekly show. We're going to talk about the Charlotte FC news. We're going to talk about the soccer tournament, the 7-on-7 Pro-Am exhibition that is going on in Cary, North Carolina. Earlier today, I dropped a short episode with a little on-the-ground preview from our friend JB up in Raleigh. And so today we have kind of a full slate of things to talk about. First and foremost, Charlotte FC went down to Atlanta, and the boys had quite a night. We went from the wrong side of a 3-1 whooping at New York Red Bull. We continued our road trip, and we had questions about the offense. We had questions about how this team was going to respond. Going on the road to Atlanta, a city without drinkable water. But their Atlanta United team was coming off of a huge win over Inter Miami, also a 3-1 contest. So they're coming in hot, we're coming in not. And how's it going to shake up? Well, I will tell you, there were over 2,000 Charlotte FC fans in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The Benz, as they call it, became our new home, our home away from home. And I love that the Charlotte FC media team had a little graphic they put out with our crown on top of their stadium, calling it our fortress. It really is. We won last year with a massive fan contingent on the road. I was happy to be at that one. I was unable to make it to this one. Plans changed, and spent the weekend with my kids instead. So, yeah, I mean, watch it on TV, man. I'll tell you what, it was quite a contest. Atlanta took an early lead. Charlotte FC responded. There was an own goal, possibly a controversy. It went to VAR, and for once the VAR gods smiled down upon us. We were awarded a goal that was not given in the run of play, although from my own viewpoint, watching it live, it appeared to be indisputably. So my hot take is I think that this was a poor use of VAR. I think that the refs should have had the courage and the fortitude to call it a goal on the field, as it was. But I think that they took the easy way out and allowed a no call, knowing that VAR could go back and fix their mistake if needed. That's not the way that VAR is intended to work. So it's unfortunate, but we saw that in the preseason. We saw that with the replacement refs. We saw that, last season too. These refs are not always going to make the call on the field because they're using VAR as a crutch. That being said, should we have goal line technology in Major League Soccer? Absolutely yes. If there was goal line technology, this would have been shown to have been a goal beyond a shadow of a doubt. We wouldn't have to see the Atlanta United fans on social media crying and complaining. So, yeah, bring goal line technology to MLS. Huge win, though, 3-2. Liel Obata with a brace. Patrick Agyemang just doing yeoman's work out there. The guy's coming in on a busted ankle from the Red Bull game. Dean tells us on Friday it's questionable whether or not he'll play. If it was today, he wouldn't play, but luckily it's a Sunday afternoon game. We had all the spotlight in MLS to ourselves, which we can get into that later, why they didn't stagger the games more this weekend. But, as it was, we had the national game of the week. You could watch it on Fox. You could watch it on Apple Plus. And I saw that we were actually the 5th highest rated soccer game in the United States on linear TV, which is only the Fox broadcast and not the Apple Plus broadcast. So that was pretty cool to see. MLS is definitely still getting viewership on the linear networks. And, Charlotte FC with a statement win. In fact, it was such a statement win that I went back to our Nashville game where they came to play us at the bank. And we sent them packing, and a week later they fired their coach, basically on the heels of the Charlotte FC loss. They had to wait for the timing to be right, but Gary Smith was out at Nashville due to Charlotte FC beating them. And I had posted, on socials that we got another coach fired, and I had an Atlanta fan respond back and say, "Hey, I'm looking at this June 2nd game. What can you guys do for us?" Oddly enough, we got our other Southern rival, Atlanta United's head coach, fired. Pineda is out at Atlanta. He had, I think, the longest tenure of any Atlanta United coach since 2017, when the club was founded. So, you wouldn't think so by his tenure. It was fairly unimpressive, but they had a number of big name signings. They have a very competent roster. It looks like they have some major player moves coming up where they're going to be shipping players out to Mexico and Europe for record sums. So the talent's definitely there, but Atlanta hasn't been able to put it together, and Charlotte was the nail in the coffin that sent Pineda packing. What a game. What a night. I'm going to welcome in, I have a guest right now on the Twitter Spaces hotline. I got Ash Hamrick, friend of the pod. Ash, how's it going, bud?
It's going pretty good. How about you?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I am just so over the moon about Charlotte FC right now. Life is good. We lost our clean sheet streak to the Red Bulls, but we came back and we made it right with that win on the road at Atlanta. So you got 2 road games. You average a point and a half. That's pretty good in my book. What do you think?
On the clean sheet, it was going to end eventually. The Red Bulls win, I feel like our defense was doing so much that they couldn't keep this up forever. And so I think the problem with the Red Bull game wasn't our defense. It was that our attack, for the life of them, could not do anything. But the Atlanta game I think, showed what this team is really capable of. Is just whether they can do it consistently. Leal Abada played absolutely incredible against Atlanta, but again, can he do it consistently? And I think that will be the big question for the future.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think he's still gearing up. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he's played a full 90, and certainly not since he came back from injury yet for Charlotte. So I think he's still finding his form, and the best is yet to come. I can tell you, being a Celtic fan, having watched him, 2-3 years ago, when he was playing in a completely different system, he was such a dynamic player that you could never take your eyes off of him, and he would cut through the opposing teams at will. So I'm hoping we see more of that Leal Abada. Coming back off of injury, I think I said last week on the weekly show, I really want to make sure he's protected, that he doesn't get re-injured playing on turf at Charlotte and also at Atlanta. That can be problematic. So I was actually glad to see him come off. I thought he was looking pretty good, but he did leave it all out on the pitch. He was pretty gassed, and you just don't want to take a risk with him right now, being our only DP and by far the most talented player on the field. So, I'd love to see him play a full 90, but I also want to see more of Ben Bender. I thought Brant Bronico had an excellent game. I actually kind of liked the Junior Urso start. I thought that was kind of a savvy tactical move. What do you think about the lineup and the substitutions?
I thought the lineup was perfect to face Atlanta. I would have liked to see a little bit more substitutions earlier on in the game. I don't know who would have gone on for him, but I think Patrick Ajiman really needs a break. I think we are overusing him a lot, especially since he is getting fouled all over the place with no protection from the officials. I think that if we continue to do this, he will get injured sooner rather than later, and then we're left without a striker. So I think he needs backup desperately, and I think he needs a break as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a fortunate timing that we're going into a 2-week break for Charlotte FC as we go through this kind of middle of the season international break. I think it is, and these players do, even without playing U.S. Open Cup, they do need a break, especially like you said with our front line, our top guys, the attacking 3 up there, Vargas, Leal, and Pat, all I think could use a little bit of a break. So it's a good time. I think Vargas needs to find a little more form, work on those crosses. I've not been super impressed with him throughout the year, and I really had him pegged as one of our top performers for this year in the preseason. Unfortunately, we haven't seen it yet, and I want to see that Vargas that we had at the end of last season. We know Kerwin can dish out a scorpion kick. We know that he can do the backflips after he scores a goal, but we just need to see more of that finishing, more of the crossing, the chance creation, which I'm just not seeing right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this kind of goes back to a point that I made a couple of weeks ago. Our attack lineup right now is made up too much of potential and not enough product. Leal Abada more than I do. I'd say he's our most experienced player. How old is he? He's still in his early 20s, so he is not fully a finished product yet. He still has a lot of room to improve and get better than he already is. I have said multiple times, I think in other spaces as well, Charlotte needs to sign at least two experienced, not old like in their 30s, but maybe like 26-year-old attacker who is a proven goal scorer slash creator, because we currently do not have that, and that is
Yeah.
something we desperately need.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm kind of hearing that on some general MLS podcasts and from the professional commentators that MLS as a whole needs to shift into having those veteran attackers. We need to keep the talent that we have, stop sending our best guys to Mexico. Even the international talent, I think that Liga MX is really just running circles around us in terms of acquiring and building talent at that, late 20s, veteran striker, veteran attacking presence kind of positions. This is a cam-driven league. I think obviously Charlotte needs a cam. We took a swing on Brecht. I think he's going to work out, a little bit better as maybe a squad rotation player at the wing. I've heard some rumblings that the club, could potentially be looking to move on from him in the summer window, since they're not seeing the production that they were looking for. But I think we really have an opportunity to bring in, you said two, I would say maybe three guys for, between the 10, the 9, the wingers on the outside, and however Dean wants to, shift the formation in terms of on paper. I think what he's really brought to the team is that they know their assignments. They know what they're supposed to be doing on the pitch. Nobody looks confused or out of position. And you'll remember from last year. I know you were over in Germany, right? But last year, just watching on TV, you could see it. The players were confused. They were always unsure of what their next move was, and so they'd play a little too conservatively. And there were mistakes across the pitch, or at least it appeared that way. I don't know exactly what they were being told, but a lot of players, even veteran players, were just out of position all the time, is what it seemed like. And we're not seeing that this year.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think players last year, like players who struggled last year, like Nathan Byrne, he was, I think Latanzio's system last year really hindered his ability. And I think he got confused a lot and made silly mistakes on the pitch last year. Now, with a simplified system and with a better defensive system with Dean Smith, he's one of our players of the season so far for me. So,
yeah, and I've loved watching. I know it's kind of a minute thing, and maybe it's not exactly key to our victories, but it's been really fun to me to watch the interplay between the defensive wingbacks and the attacking wingbacks. A lot of times you'll see like that Vargas and Byrne connection where Byrne can overlap and play forward, Vargas can overlap and play back on defense, and even on the other side with our rotating wingers and Euronen to a lesser extent, but it's still there. You see the presence and the assignments that they're being given, and that flexibility to play up and down the wing has just been really fun to watch for me. I like that style of play.
yes, and we are no longer getting caught on the break as much as we were last year, because
Right.
we actually have a solid defensive line where our fullbacks aren't going into the midfield and doing whatever the heck Latanzio said to them to do. We now have a solid defensive line to where if a team does break on us, we can get guys back faster than they can get guys forward and stop that counterattack.
Absolutely. I mean, you see that all the time. Malanda obviously is a very high level talent, and I say it all the time. I'm glad to have him for as long as we can have him, but obviously that's not going to be forever because he has a very bright future ahead of him at the highest possible level. And Dean said, going into this Atlanta week, he told the commentary team that he sees Malanda as a Premier League level player. I've kind of been saying that since last year, and I'm glad to see that Dean is on the same page as somebody who is much more knowledgeable and experienced. Hearing that from him really means a lot, and it kind of reinforces my opinion that I think Malanda is absolutely a top 5 center back in MLS, and he could very well be an all-star pick.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you were going to talk about this today, but it makes that the rumor signing that just broke today, it makes a lot of sense.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. His partner in the backfield, his partner in crime, Andrew Privet. I say crime because Privet absolutely murders dudes out there. It's pretty insane to watch.
Oh, that reminds me of an instance. It was in the New York game, when we were still in the game, but I think a New York attacker had collided with Kalina, and Andrew Griffith just goes off on this New York player and gets himself a yellow card. But I remember watching that and thinking to myself, that's what I want to see from not just
Yeah,
my defenders, but from every single player on this team. Even though it was a yellow card, I love seeing the fire in all of our players.
man, I call him the Terminator, and I hope that I can pull a Danny Brams, and I hope that catches on because Andrew Privet is the Terminator for Charlotte FC. That dude sees a breakaway, he sees opponents with space. He not only catches up, but slows them down, stops them, and dispossesses them almost in one motion. It's pretty unbelievable. I would say he picks their pocket, but really, I mean, it's like he picks their pocket with one hand and a shiv in the other hand because he just completely takes them out of play. I mean, in a way that it is not only enjoyable to watch, but when most people do that or try to do that, they're going to get a yellow card. And he operates so smoothly and so cleanly that any opportunity is dispatched with extreme prejudice. And to see that fire that you were talking about in the Red Bull situation, that's great too. In my
What?
opinion, yeah, in my opinion, that fire comes from the top down. It's from the leadership, and on the field, that's Ashley Westwood. You know,
Exactly.
he's got that dog in him. He's got that fire. I don't like that our captain is probably going to be suspended for yellow card accumulation, but you know what? I can't be mad when he's sticking up for his teammates. He's getting fiery. I think a lot of the yellow card attention for him has been from dissent
It
and
has.
being combative with the referees. So,
But just to pivot back to Andrew Privet, one thing I am interested about him, um, his original position was originally supposed to be a central defensive midfielder, and he has been excellent as center back. But that's him playing out of position. If Andrew Privet is this good at playing center back, how good is he at playing central defensive midfielder? And could that possibly make way for Ashley Westwood to get a little bit more offensive
right.
in the midfield, which we know he has incredible creative abilities that could be potentially be wasted right now when he's playing as a six.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about the balance of how that would work because I think we would be playing Ashley further up the field, or at least with more of that line breaking, passing, offensive responsibility, which he was kind of known for before he came to Charlotte. I think we would be playing him higher up the field if we were able to. I don't necessarily think he's a cam, but I'm sure there is a role for him somewhere in there. You know, moving on, I think we can kind of talk about the elephant in the room. Top in 90, shout out to Jorge and the emoji tweet king himself. He said, if you like and retweet this post, I'll drop some Charlotte FC news. We did, and he dropped an absolute bombshell on us. The exclusive reporting from Top in 90 that Charlotte is apparently close to a deal with U.S. national team and Fulham center back Tim Ream. Wow.
Wow.
What, dude? I just posted like the wow emojis, like and the eyes emojis, because I'm just like, what is going on? Tim Ream, that was never on my radar. That's one of those guys you see is coming available, and you're like, well, I mean, sure, Charlotte could take a flyer on him, but he's American. I'm not sure exactly where he's from in the U.S., but maybe he wanted to come back home, and I'm a big national team supporter. I think he's great. Despite his age at 36 years old, I think he still has another, season to 2 seasons left. He's playing at the Premier League right now, at a Premier League level. So coming to MLS, it's a different style of play. It's a little rougher. You got turf and everything. But we've seen a lot of players later in their careers come to MLS and have pretty good seasons.
And he's played in MLS before, so he will probably know the league a little bit. I really do like this potential signing on two conditions. The first condition that we don't give him a designated player spot. I think we need to save
Absolutely.
those for attackers. On the second condition is that we sign attackers as well. We're not just signing defenders. But I
Yeah.
do like the intention from the Charlotte FC front office. I think they are planning potentially either to partner him with Malanda, or in case of a Malanda exit, in case some big club in Europe sees the talent that he is and tries to bring him over to Europe. So I think it is a little bit adding a little bit of depth and a little bit of planning for a departure.
Yeah, I agree. I think the depth is, a pretty key piece there. It gives you more flexibility with what you can do with Privet, like you were saying. It, gives you some relief for Malanda. I think it's a good move, but like you said, it can't be a DP spend, and really, even if it's a TAM level deal, I would like to see it on the lower side of that. I know we have some funds to play around with, but I'm thinking he's around like a league max kind of signing, maybe a 500 to 600K. So I'd be interested to see what happens with that deal. Maybe you can like layer on some incentives on there. Obviously, we have a pretty good record with clean sheets this year, so maybe you can give him some, performance-based incentives, and that may also be more appealing from the league side when you have an older player and you're not sure exactly how much he's going to see the field or how often. Performance-based incentives as part of the deal could be a good way to keep the salary hit down. But that's just my football manager side thinking out loud. Yeah, we have a question. Actually, one of the listeners here has sent in a question. Kyle Zoombach, aka Zoomy, has sent in the question. I'm curious why we're signing a defender when we need an attacker. Now, I'm just going to give you my perspective here, Ash, and then I'll kick it over to you and see what you think. From what I've heard from the front office directly, numerous times from the scouting department, from interviews with Zoran, and at every level of the organization, they've told me and they've told other sources that there are always deals going on, and the deals can take multiple trade windows to finally come together. Knowing that Tim Ream was going to become available, these conversations probably started last year or during the winter. So they've been going on as long as they can, and I know that Zoran's philosophy is he wants to put the best players onto the team. He is cooperating with Dean. I know Dean has some input, but I'm sure Dean would like to see more depth at the center back position too. And I think Tim Ream, with his style of defending, can slot into most systems pretty effectively. Maybe not if we're going to play the the style that we had last year, where you're asking him to flex up into the midfield and really have to get back at full sprint every time. But no, I mean, I think that it's a good signing for depth, and I think that the philosophy of taking the best available guys and working those relationships, working those deals over the long term, that worked out with us to get Liel Obada. That's worked out with us in the past and could still work out for us in the future with some of these prospects in Europe and South America that we keep hearing about. So why are we signing a defender when we need an attacker? I think it's a question of por qué no los dos? Like, let's get both of them, because we need attackers, we need a cam, we need a striker. I wouldn't be mad if we got another winger. Yeah, so let's grab that and build up our depth a little bit in the backfield. What do you think, Ash?
I think it's kind of like a matter of this deal is just like a little bit more advanced. I would be very, very shocked if we are not in talks with some attacker, some player. I think we got news like last week of a French player who just got relegated with their team, that we're in talks with them. So that could be another potential signing that isn't just advanced yet. But I also think this is a defender who is playing for a Premier League team who Pep Guardiola, the second best manager in history, complimented on multiple occasions. This is just one of the signings I feel like you kind of have to make if the opportunity is there. Tim Ream can bring so much to our defense and build upon what great defense we already have. And we already have one of the best defenses in the league. This signing could make us the literal best in the league.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. I think, that defense wins championships, right? Especially in a league like MLS, where as the fixture congestion goes on, the scheduling gets deeper, and we get into the thick of the playoff chase. Other teams are going to be dealing with injuries. You're going to have players coming in and out. If we have a consistent and a strong defense, I think that's really the key for us to make a really strong playoff run this year. So, yeah, good call. We could have the best defense in the league, and we're already pretty close. So we're just adding on more pieces. I love that. So, moving on, Charlotte FC is off for 2 weeks. We're going to come back and visit them soon. But we have actually a major soccer tournament coming up in Cary, North Carolina. That is TST, the soccer tournament, from the folks that brought you the basketball tournament, TBT, which is over 10 years in, and I follow it every year, from Syracuse, New York. And Syracuse University has an alumni basketball team that's participated since the very first edition. TBT started out as a $1 million winner-take-all tournament, and the soccer tournament has started out the same way. So I had the good fortune, the pleasure of going last year as a spectator. It is a multi-day, kind of a long weekend event. I have been saying that it is like the best possible vacation you can take if you love soccer at any level. I got to meet scouts, front office people, executives from all level of soccer, from, MLS down to Division 5. I was talking with indoor soccer league representatives last year, and it was a ball. I had such a good time. There were so many games. It's an interesting format. It's 7-on-7. They don't do throw-ins. They do kick-ins. And every game has to end on a goal. It's pretty cool. They will count down, and when you reach the end of the second half, they will put an unlimited clock up on the board. So there's unlimited time, and whichever team scores the last goal wins, and that score is determined by taking the winning team's total and adding 1. So if it's 4-1 when that time expires and they put the unlimited clock up, whoever hits 5 first wins. And every 5 or 6 minutes, they take one player off the pitch from each team. So last year, I think it got down to 2v2 for one game. It's really exciting. It sounds like a little bit gimmicky, but it ends up being extremely fast-paced, very high scoring. This year, 6 days, 56 teams, 118 matches, and not just one $1 million winner, but they actually created a second women's bracket, and the winner of the women's bracket will also get $1 million. So it is pretty cool. You have the U.S. women's national team, the Wrexham Red Dragons, men's and women's. You have Angel City FC for the women's side, and the U.S. women's national team is returning, and I think they may be the favorites to win it all on that side. On the men's side, buckle up. It's pretty insane. The men's side features, breaking news here, Concaifa FC with Pat McAfee as the host and captain. Concaifa FC, Pat McAfee just arrived in Cary, North Carolina about 10 minutes ago. He gave a insane pump-up, warm-up speech to his team. J.J. Watt, his friend and co-owner of Burnley FC in the Premiership, actually just relegated to the Championship. But J.J. Watt is going to be there playing and captaining the Burnley team. You have Chad Ochocinco. He's returning for the Cincinnati club, Natty FC. And, I'm going to read through some of these. You tell me if you've heard of these guys. You have the Aguero team with Sergio Aguero. You have Nanny FC with Luis Nanny. You have a Mexican team called La Mexicana Express. Say Word FC is returning this year. So that is actually from some HBCUs, especially in the North Carolina area, but also some other folks from around the country. Group B, you got Burnley, Concaifa, Natty SC, and a Jamaican alumni team called the Reggae Rovers, which, even though they're in the celebrity bracket, the Reggae Rovers have been talking a lot of trash online, so you love to see it. And you know that the Jamaican fans are going to be bringing the best food to this thing. You have the Swans from EFL Championship. So they're sponsored by AU Vodka. So, maybe we'll get a little taste of that. But they're a South Wales type alumni team. and Swansea legend Lee Trundle is captaining them. I think he actually played for Wrexham last year. Lee Trundle is a beast. If you haven't seen him, the dude is massive, and he is just a bruiser on the field. It's a pleasure to watch. You have a Vancouver team. Tobacco Road is one of the local teams. They're a USL2 team based in Durham. So Tobacco Road FC is a local Carolina team that we'll be pulling for. Soccer Roof is a prominent indoor soccer provider who is sponsoring a team with some New York City, downstate New York, and Montreal talent. So that's interesting. You have some sponsors taking part this year. Now, here are some other ones you may recognize, some alumni teams from Inter Milan, Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich. You have Wrexham Red Dragons, obviously, from Welcome to Wrexham. So a lot of folks will be cheering for them. The defending champs, Newtown Pride FC out of Connecticut. They are a indoor soccer team, and their team is going to be looking to defend their title. Sneaky Fox FC, which the 2013 MLS MVP Mike McGee has a vodka brand called Sneaky Fox. So that's another sponsorship team, but they are back. They were there last year. Hashtag United, which has a big following on the internet. They're a UK-based team, an esports club founded by Spencer Owen. And Hashtag United has one of the surprisingly biggest fan bases outside of Wrexham at the tournament. The Raleigh Rebels are another local team. You have Villarreal alumni team. You have North Carolina FC from USL Championship, but I don't really like them very much. You have Georgetown Hoyas alumni team, an Indiana alumni team, an Air Force alumni team, and Trident FC. And tomorrow I'm actually going to be bringing you guys an exclusive interview with the Trident FC coach, who some of you actually may know from a movie called Next Goal Wins, which was directed by Taika Waititi. And so that was actually based on a true story. And the coach that Michael Fassbender played in the movie was based on Thomas Rongen, who had coached at Tampa Bay and had a falling out with the U.S. Soccer Federation. They sent him to coach American Samoa. And that's going to be a really good interview. The dude, I've heard, is very interesting. So I'm looking forward to meeting him and bringing you guys that interview. Once again, there's a lot of teams here. Jumping over to the women's field, we talked about some of those teams. Burnley FC, I forgot to mention, also has their women's team involved. The North Carolina Courage are involved. Tampa Bay Sun, which is a new USL Super League team, they're actually going to take the field in TST before USL Super League begins. So it's going to be a fantastic tournament. Ash, what are your thoughts on TST, and does this sound like the best tournament ever, or what?
It sounds like it does sound sounds a lot of fun, but it does sound very Americanized.
It is. They have to keep it going because there's so many matches in a day that it's 2 20-minute halves and then that extra time period. So they do keep it moving. It's pretty fast paced, but it is a lot of fun. It's almost like watching a rec league tournament. But you have celebrities and world-class athletes and up-and-coming amateurs, and it's folks from all up and down the soccer pyramid, domestically and internationally. But it really is just a celebration of soccer, I think is how I would describe it. And we had, that interview I published earlier today, and we kind of coined the phrase "soccer Coachella," because there's multiple fields. I think there's 7 or 8 fields where you'll have games going off and on all day, a lot of them simultaneously. So you can come in to the main Wake Med Park in Cary, and they have the main field split up into 2 kind of main stage fields, and that's where you're going to see your Wrexhams and Burnleys and Concaifa FCs. And then you can go out to the practice fields and back where they have another 6 fields and watch just constant soccer. So it's nonstop. It's a lot of fun, and man, I cannot wait. I'm gonna get up there tomorrow. Apparently I'm gonna have to get up there by 8 a.m. because the first game kicks off at 8:30, and that's gonna be the biggest game of the day. We're gonna see Pat McAfee versus Ocho Cinco to kick off the tournament. So definitely want to see that.
Pat McAfee is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and obviously some recent controversy, but he's a little rough around the edges. I certainly cannot relate to that myself, but he's going to take some heat here and there. I think he's a net positive for the sport of soccer, though. He approaches it in kind of a comedy, disrespectful way, but it does come from a place of love. He was a high school all-star player, and actually, from what I've heard, would have had a D1 soccer scholarship if he didn't go to play football. I see we got some more listeners in here. If you guys want to request to come on up, feel free. I will approve it. I tried sending out some invitations, but you know how glitchy this thing is. So yeah, Joe and Dave would love to have you up here. We can talk about TST. We can talk about the Charlotte soccer news. We already discussed the Atlanta United game from the past weekend. We discussed the news about Tim Ream potentially being signed by Charlotte FC, which is wild. All right, I got Joe Garcia here, so we'll wait until his system catches up with us. And Joe, once you can hear us, what are your thoughts, man? Charlotte FC and the soccer tournament, TST in Cary, North Carolina.
Hey guys, what's going on? I think TST sounds awesome. Like you said, it's a celebration of soccer, and we're lucky that it's being held here. So that's great. As far as Charlotte FC news, man, did you guys touch on the Atlanta game at this point?
Yeah, we did. But what were your thoughts on the game, Joe?
I was there, and I have to say, man, and I know Dave was there also. I didn't cross paths with Dave while I was there, but dude, it was an awesome experience. This is my first away game, and I got to tell you, the supporters groups were all great. Everybody really came together. We were loud, man.
I could hear it on TV.
Yeah. I mean, I think they reported the attendance as like 61,200, somewhere around there. I don't think that was true, to be honest with you.
No.
It didn't look that full. But I will tell you, for the 2,000 of us that showed up, and I'm not even including fans that might have been in attendance that weren't in the Charlotte supporters area where we were, man, I mean, we were loud as all get out. I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen the videos by now of us marching to the stadium, that people on the street in their cars are taking videos of us, chanting all the way in unison. In the building, we got even louder. Once we got to the seats, we were still loud. There were reports. Somebody was screenshotting the Atlanta United subreddit, like people complaining, "Hey, I'm sitting next to our supporters section, and all I could hear is the Charlotte FC supporters." That's pretty bad. And I mean, let's also talk about Atlanta United. If I'm the owner, right, I'm firing everybody on their content team and anybody who came up with some of the promotions that they tried to own us with, and they just completely took losses all around. Like the paper crowns, they had a catchphrase or something. Maybe Dave can remember. It said something like "Kings play here." They had their tifo was kind of cool. It was like the eagle from their logo with on the tips of the wings. It was like the pride colors. But then they put a gold crown on the eagle. On
really trying to hammer that, huh?
Yeah. Then on the scoreboard, they had ATL versus Viz instead of saying Charlotte FC or CLT FC, and it was just like complete own after own. And the best own of all, I think, was when they started playing Peppers when we were coming back to the set when we were coming into the second half.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, Joe LeBou's tweet says it all. I don't remember. I can't quote it off the top of my head, but it was something like, "Are they playing our song?" and then there's like a video somebody took from across the stadium of like the whole wall of the 2,000 of us like doing Peppers, doing the deposit across the way. Man, I mean, they just failed at every attempt to try to own us, and that lame Sarminti video that literally had no point. I don't know what they were thinking about there, but to get onto the performance, I mean, I got to say, Atlanta actually played pretty well in the first half. I thought we were going to have a rough go at that point, But then it just seemed like in the second half, I think what Dean was trying to get the guys to do actually fell into place, and we definitely took over the play in the second half. We looked really good. Abada with a brace. I mean, he was just awesome.
Yeah, no, Obata had a fantastic game, and I really liked, that he really gave it his all. But yeah, Joe, dude, what a game. And just like you were saying, that experience, tell me about your day. Like, what time did you guys get started, and what time did you get back?
Well, let's see. For me, I was up, because I live outside of Charlotte. I was up at about 4:45 in the morning, wrangling my son and my daughter together so that we can make it in. I mean, we're only about 35 minutes out of the city, so it's not a big deal. This was our first away game, so I wanted to make sure I got there early. I didn't want to, pull up late and then be running around. And we got there, and we hung out for a little while. Buses got there. Bus trip went pretty smooth. I'm in Mid-City Collective, so we had a couple of buses. And on our bus, we had some trivia going, some chants going on the bus. We were trying to come up with chants to make fun of Atlanta for their water main break issues. So fun stuff like that. It was entertaining. The tailgate was pretty awesome. They had a setup there for kids to kick a soccer ball around, and kids were having fun. Food was great. Like I said, the march over to the stadium was awesome. It was just like a whole force of us, man, walking right to the stadium. 2,000 people is a lot.
I cannot emphasize for you guys enough, because I was part of that last year. I was right at the front of that line. And as you approach Mercedes-Benz Stadium, if I'm remembering correctly, you're going a little bit, it's a little bit hilly. And as you go kind of downhill and then up a little bit, you can just see the line of Charlotte FC supporters going all the way back down the sidewalk. We're chanting and singing and carrying on the whole time. I'm sure you guys were this year. And the people driving through Atlanta just seeing a wall of blue of Charlotte FC taking over. I mean, it's a feeling unlike any other. And last year, we were in the tailgate lot, and just the energy from that tailgate right before we left, I was talking with somebody, maybe somebody here actually, about the game, and we were talking about there's no way. I mean, Atlanta was kind of in shambles, just like they were this year, and just the amount of energy we were bringing. It's like, we're going to take over the stadium. And I put down 100 on Charlotte FC to win, like right then in the tailgate, because I was just like, there's no way Atlanta can win this. And I imagine it might have been a similar feeling this past weekend.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to add, because I've seen this pop up online, and then I'll let Dave jump on, because Dave was there too. I'm sure he had similar experiences, but I've seen some people online trying to make something out of some of the supporter group stuff that's come up, which really isn't supporter group necessarily. It's more like some people in a couple or so of the different groups that have had issues, that have caused issues. But I got to tell you that anybody who thinks that there's any sort of split with the way the fans were behaving is absolutely out of line, and they don't know what they were talking about. For instance, I was, being at the match, I was an idiot, and I didn't realize that it was kind of like sit where you want. So dopily, I went to the seats that were on the tickets that I got assigned. So instead of sitting with the Mid-City Collective folks, I ended up actually sitting over by where the Blue Furia folks decided to set up. And I could tell you from my experience that all the capos were trying to work on chants. It was kind of hard at one point, because you have some stuff that starts off on one end and then the other end is trying to catch up. But there was no like competing chants or any nonsense like that. Whatever anybody's pushing online is nonsense, because they weren't there.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. I mean, I think it's important to say, we all support Charlotte FC. And when we're representing the team and we have the colors on, I would hope that we can all be on the same page and support the team together.
Yeah, I hate people who weren't there then try to bring up like that there's some, crazy division amongst all the supporters groups. And it's just, I mean, at least from my experience, that's not what I saw this weekend. And I was there in person, and I challenge anybody who wasn't there to try to, say otherwise to me or anybody else who was there. I mean, if you heard us on TV, we were all pretty much going as one the whole time. Dave,
Yeah.
what did you think, man? What was your experience?
Yeah, mine was a pretty fun experience. I took my half siblings who are Atlanta natives, and one's 9 and one is 14, I think. And before the game, they're new to soccer and asking like, who should I pull for? And I'm like, you're born in Atlanta. It's kind of your team. You kind of pull for your home and those types of deals. And by the end of the game, because of the chanting, because of the way the game was going, uh, hearing, we were right pretty much underneath where Joe was, and we could hear them, and I'm singing, and they're kind of learning the songs, and I couldn't make them Atlanta fans. They became Charlotte fans just from the atmosphere that we created, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, man. I bet. I mean, it looked amazing on TV. You guys did such a good job. Thank you for going out there, spending your entire day traveling to Atlanta and back. I hope you were able to stay hydrated. I hear that Atlanta is not able to maintain their water system, so that's rough, taking multiple L's. But
Actually, look, if I could jump back on here for a second, I just want to give a big shout out, not only to all the folks in the supporters groups who had to wrangle everybody for their buses and make sure everybody was organized and keeping the chants together during the game and stuff like that. I just want to give a big shout out to the team also, and to the sponsors, because they helped with the buses and stuff like that, and they gave out some swag and everything, and I think they obviously appreciated the support that we showed, and I just want to give a shout out to them for how we were treated by the team too.
oh, that's fantastic. Good to hear. Were there any incidents with the security in Atlanta?
I didn't face any. They, at the end of the match, we were already notified by our group that we'd probably be held for up to 30 minutes. Yeah. Just to let the Atlanta fans get out, and it's obvious because they don't want any issues between the fan groups. But where I was, I didn't run into any issues. I thought the staff at the stadium was actually pretty friendly towards us, considering.
Yeah, I mean, last year there was an issue with Atlanta fans throwing stuff at the Charlotte fans and then reporting to security that we were throwing things. So, I mean, it sounds petty and stupid, and it really is, but security was kind of up and down the aisle, pulling people out here and there. Now that I've gone through that Nashville away day, that Atlanta one last year doesn't look so bad. But I'm glad to hear it went smoothly. I hate that they stick the away fans up into that like high corner of the stadium, furthest away from the field. But the best medicine for that is to beat them, in their home stadium and make it our fortress and take it over. So, cheers to you guys. All right, I'm going to kick it over to Sam Spencer with Soccer Sheet. Thank you for waiting patiently, Sam, friend of the pod.
I think there was a good point earlier about how many, not just own goals Atlanta had, which was one, but the self-owns that Atlanta had, which were myriad.
Let me kick it over to Joe. From inside the stadium, Joe, I know you were probably pretty far away, but how did that look to you?
Honestly, from where we were, at least anyway, where I was, all the way upstairs on the opposite end of the stadium, like, I couldn't tell. There was no way that you could tell. I was actually kind of surprised when they went to VAR, and then the VAR went our way. Only because we couldn't see it.
Yeah, so on TV, I can tell you, I told Ash earlier, it looked like it was in on just the live first run through. And then when they went back and showed the angles, there are some really unhelpful angles, which I feel like kind of feed the conspiracy theories. Because if you're looking from behind the keeper and you can't tell where the lines are and you don't know what you're actually looking for in those shots, it can look like it was a save or it could look inconclusive. But if you look at the original TV angle, that kind of high downward angle, you can see that the keeper is placed a solid yard behind the line. That's where his feet are located, and that his body is out horizontal. So his hand is also a yard behind the goal line, and the ball hits it directly. So to me, it like having watched thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of college football, where you're trying to see like where does the ball align in a 3D angle against the yards on the field. Just looking at 1 yard or one painted line and did the ball go past it? From my expert TV watching opinion, it looked like it was a clear cut goal. And like I said to Ash earlier, you guys may not have heard it. I think really the MLS referees were a little bit cowardly. I think they misapplied the VAR rule, and that should have been called a goal in live play. But they knew they had VAR to fall back on and to correct the mistake, so they allowed play to continue, knowing that they would go back and look at it later. And that is not the way that VAR is supposed to be used in MLS. So I think they, just like the replacement referees did, I earlier in the year, I think they used that as a handicap, as a kind of a crutch to get out of having to make a tough call on the pitch. That's not the way it should go, but it went our way in the end. So I guess we can be a little bit thankful for that. It doesn't always go that way. Yeah, and Sam, back to your point earlier about Atlanta taking the self-inflicted wounds here. First of all, the weekend started with Crown Legacy beating Atlanta United 2. And that was a huge win. We had AJ score in the 90-minute +1 of stoppage time for the only goal of the game. Cambridge actually got the start in this one. So Brandon Cambridge may be on his way back in. We had really a pretty uneventful day. There wasn't a whole lot going on here. Cambridge did get a yellow card. I'm not sure exactly what that was about. But, man, Crown Legacy is back in playoff position. So they've been moving their way up the table. We're sitting on a +2 goal differential. Can't wait till they get back to Matthews and we can see some more games in person. But I know they are away this coming weekend. And they are playing Huntsville City, who has given us fits historically. So shout out to Crown Legacy. I want to make sure we include them. Yeah, they took an L Friday night with the MLS Next Pro team. And then on social media throughout the weekend, I mean, you guys can jump back in if you want to. I thought it was bizarre. I can't think of another word for it. Atlanta United's social media posting, whoever their social media admin is, I mean, I'm not going to go so far as to say that Arthur Blank, who's a geriatric and absolutely not on the internet, should fire anybody. This is their job. But, like, I don't know. Maybe, like, hire somebody who's watched Rick and Morty and not, like, I don't even know what kind of absurd point they were trying to make with their, Wish.com Sir Minty outfit. And I think they were trying to say, like, we were copying them, or, like, Charlotte FC fans are – they're actually Atlanta United fans when we're not at Bank of America. Like when we're not at the game, we come home and we're just like secret closet Atlanta United fans. It was bizarre to me because, I mean, that's certainly not the case. They were the closest team to us for like 2 or 3 years. But, I mean, no, we have a rivalry with the Falcons. Now that we have Charlotte FC, they're our derby rival. We're not like – it was such a weird angle to try to go, like, what was the point of this, Sam? Am I missing something?
No, you're not missing anything. I've talked to so many people about this because the other thing is that one of the important things about being a social media manager is also not like I've done it for like members of Congress and stuff, but you want to leave yourself you don't want to leave yourself open to attacks or to like easy clapbacks. Unless you're one of those basketball goal accounts who just like exist to be dunked on, because there are people who get engagement that way. But I don't think Atlanta United was trying to be dunked on all weekend, and yet that is what happened. I even have a request into MLS comms because the visitor thing was really funny to me, because as somebody who is a Wimbledon supporter and has followed many years of mediation about Wimbledon keeping MK Dons off of their their board at Plough Lane, and not not acknowledging the existence of that club and wanting to call them visitors. The EFL actually has a rule that you have to use the real names and real acronyms, and you can't do stuff like that in the EFL. So I was wondering if if Atlanta United, in the attempts to be petty, was actually broken MLS rules, because not that I care about them getting fined, but it'd be an interesting story. But I think the best revenge that Charlotte can get, because Atlanta clearly wants this to be the derby, and we could just choose Nashville, or somebody else, and we could, you know, it felt like they were trying too hard, that like they were NC State trying to break into the Duke Carolina rivalry, like as much as NC State basketball wants Carolina to be the rivals. They are the third wheel in that relationship,
Yeah.
and Atlanta was just, they were paying the price for trying too hard, and all you know all all my love and goodwill to their comms team. They've had a hard week.
Yeah.
Charlotte knows what it's like to fire a coach around Memorial Day weekend.
Oof.
It is it's not a fun experience for the communications team, and even if it was inevitable and not a complete surprise like MAR. Um, so like I feel bad for him, but gosh, that Minty, the fake Minty was so easy to dunk on or make fun of,
It
and,
was
and
so weird. Like objectively, I make memes. Like it wasn't funny. I will give other teams credit when they do something funny. Like when they actually burn us and it's good, I will be the first one to give them credit. And I've done that. I've given, props and flowers to other teams for like witty stuff. And I mean, shout out to Nashville. Their fans do a great job. Their social media account at least tries. That Atlanta just, man, what are they doing? They did that cameo where they like hired a bunch of people to say like Atlanta was taking over Nashville or something. That was weird. And then like Charlotte FC comes back and it's just our comms team like pretending to be cameo people and saying like, "Hey, we're all coming down for the game," because we actually are. And that was hilarious. Our social media team is so good. Their videos are so funny and professional. I remember during the off season they were dropping almost like throwbacks to those old ESPN commercials where they were so instantly iconic and identifiable. I mean, just incredible work. And we have a bigger social media following than many other clubs who are much older than us. That led to us, Charlotte FC's main official account, ratioing the other teams with their trolling posts when Charlotte FC just quote tweets with just a little tiny slapback, and we ratio them with our likes. It was incredible. Like you said, they were just taking L's and own goals left and right, and it was ironic that translated to the pitch as well.
yeah, and I mean the thing about Minty is, there is already a narrative on Minty in the MLS ethos, right? It is that Minty is a harbinger of doom. He is
Yeah,
clearly evidence of evils that are to come. And you could have done something with Minty scaring children, or there are so many other opportunities to dunk on Minty, but like that he would be a closeted Atlanta fan. I mean,
it's absurd. I mean, and them like really doing the crown thing. It's like, yeah, we get it. Your nickname is like Kings of the South, but that's like your like third or fourth nickname. I don't know, man. Like, don't worry so much about us, and maybe worry about yourselves a little bit. You had a coach on the hot seat. You're kind of tempting fate there, and then the visitors, as we're known as, came in and beat you again at home. While your place sounded like a library, all you could hear was the Charlotte fans taking over. You're sitting there with your bottled water, and couldn't make a second half adjustment to win the game. I don't know. It's weird. Joe, what do you think, man?
I'd like to take this opportunity to say to Charlotte FC fans, if you're ever out, whether it's here at home or at an away game, and you're in the presence of anybody from the content team or the social media team, don't let them pay for their drinks.
Yeah, facts.
Please take care of them. We have to care for them. They do very well by us and our team. and make us
Yo,
look really, really good. So
yeah.
make sure that we take care of them. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I can tell you they do not get paid nearly enough for the amount of amazing work they do. So yeah, cheers to our content team, the communications, photographer, everybody along the way. You guys are doing amazing, amazing work. Please keep it up. So moving on, I do want to give you guys some breaking news. We're not just talking about Charlotte FC. We're not just talking about TST. I know we mentioned MLS Next Pro, but there's actually a game in progress right now that we should all be paying attention to. The U.S. women's national team is in a tune-up against South Korea, and Crystal Dunn scored in the 13th minute. USA is dominating attacking possession. It is about 30 minutes into the game now. So cheers to the ladies. We love the U.S. national team, men's and women's. And since we got a bigger audience in here now, I'll just touch on the news of the day. Again, speaking of the U.S. national team, Charlotte FC is rumored, and this was broken by Top In 90, to be in advanced stages of negotiation with a high likelihood to sign Tim Ream, the center back from Fulham. And shout out to Ash Hamrick, friend of the pod. He messaged me. Tim Ream is from St. Louis, which we've been told is the capital of American soccer. I don't know about that, but we can talk about like the old capital of American soccer and the new one. And I think we can all agree the new capital of American soccer is Charlotte, North Carolina. Because we are dominating top to bottom. And I think adding Tim Ream is a great move. He's a veteran center back, a lot of experience, and he can plug and play in Dean's system. I really think once he gets a few practices and a little bit of chemistry, I think he could be a good stopgap either alongside or in place of Privet or Malanda. We're going to be having a lot of schedule congestion with the Leagues Cup coming up and the playoff push after that. So we're going to need some rotation and depth at center back. And Tim Ream is, in my opinion, a fantastic solution for that. I'm seeing a lot of controversy on the social media, on the interwebs, and especially the toxic Facebook group. We hate to see that. I don't see any need to be negative about it. Tim Ream, I think, is a good option. We're signing him on a one-year contract. I'm hoping he's going to be like in the 500 to 600K range. People are saying his current contract at Fulham is like 1.5. That doesn't mean that's what he's getting here. I think he knows at this stage in his career he's going to have to take a pay cut, and I would want to see TAM at most and preferably below TAM level. Sam, you're kind of our insider here as far as the reporting goes. What are your thoughts on the Tim Ream rumors/news?
Well, the other thing is that if Tim Ream comes on, it really begs the question, like what Bill Tuoloma's place is in the team after that. It does add to the defensive depth chart. It's clear that's where Dino's focus has been, even though, in my couple of interviews that I did with Dean last month, one of the things that I was surprised that he told me was that, even though he's a former center back and played center back professionally all but one or two of the years of his career, he always thought that, he's better at giving advice to forwards because he thinks it's a lot more valuable to be able to coach and give insight on what pisses center backs off and where like how to really get inside their head or go to positions where center backs don't want to play. And when I talked to Adilson and Patrick about those comments, they both agreed that he's been giving them good advice on both ends of the field. So, but yeah, I mean, I think one of the interesting things during Latanzio's time was that whenever I would talk with Christian, he would bring up identity, and he would talk a lot about the team's identity, and I always found it sort of funny because I felt like our team did not have a coherent identity last year, and and so the fact that Latanzio was always talking about that was really weird. I think this signing makes it clear that Dean is like a key part of his identity for Charlotte FC is the ethos that goals win games and defense wins championships, and that cliche is like at the core of the Charlotte FC that he's building. And I think it also says like we have faith that DPs in the summer transfer window are going to happen, that, Abada playing lights out in Atlanta isn't a flash in the pan, that, like that is the Liel Abada that we signed. That is the quality that we are bringing over from Celtic. So I think it says a lot of different things that about the team and where we're going and what our future looks like. And of course, you know, it doesn't suck to have more people playing for national teams.
No, it certainly doesn't. I've been wanting that for quite a while, actually. More national team experience. And Reem, I've personally been a big fan of him. I think Greg Berhalter, Triple G with the U.S. national team, he seems like maybe he has some kind of a grudge or doesn't like Reem very much. That's a him problem. That's not a Reem problem. So y'all know I'm no fan of Triple G.
Just looking at some of the toxic groups that you spoke of, the hot takes coming out of them are really silly. People think apparently that this is going to be the only signing that the front office makes. I've seen people going, but we need a striker, we need a cam. Right, yeah, we know. There's still a whole lot of time to go until we even get to the summer window, and then until the summer window closes, everybody. Just take it easy. I'm sure that the front office doesn't concentrate on one player at a time. I'm sure they have multiple players that they're lining up to sign or trying to sign. Give the front office a chance. We're in 5th place. Give them a chance.
I don't know. I said this in response to our Charlotte Soccer Show friends, Chief Kiefer, one of the good friends from the Hopfly pregame, posted about the match, and he said, people are mad about the possibility of Reem, and I replied back, mad folks don't know ball. So that's my opinion. If you want to be mad about it, that's fine, but you're just kind of exposing yourself that you don't really know the game very much.
Yeah, quick question for Sam. Do you know if we're possibly paying a transfer? Because it seems like he's under contract for Ream.
I don't have any details, and anybody who says exactly that they have details at this point is probably not it. But I would expect that this isn't going to be free. On the other hand, it looks like Charlotte's getting $350,000 of GAM pretty soon. So who knows?
Yeah, and I'd be interested to hear your guys' opinion on this. I didn't even have this on my lineup, but news broke that Marco Reese is moving to LA Galaxy, and Charlotte, with the discovery rights, is going to receive $350,000 in compensation for that move. So, my impression was that the previous record for a similar type of discovery right hostage situation, for lack of a better term, was 500,000. So I was hoping to at least get 500K. Sam, once again, kind of in your wheelhouse, but why do you think we settled for 350, knowing that the market was already kind of set at 500? Or am I misreading it?
I mean, I am not Zoran Kornetis Butler, so I I wish I could tell you more. But I mean, I think that the team put out what we wanted to get for it, and LA Galaxy probably came back with a different offer.
Word. Okay, I got Ash here who's raising his hand. I see you, bud. What do you got?
I saw an article around a week or a week and a half ago of us monitoring a player named Mohamed Cham, I believe his name was, who played for a French side that just got relegated from League One down to League Two. And I was wondering if anybody had any insight on that, on how advanced those talks were, whether they're even taking place at all. I believe he is an attacking midfielder.
Yeah, interesting news. I think that could be a good piece of the puzzle. I mean, if he has that, style of play at the attacking midfield role that we're looking for, that could be a really interesting move. Some more breaking news regarding Charlotte FC was the new stadium. I mean, the Panthers organization, TSE, which owns the Panthers and Charlotte FC. This certainly appeared to be primarily a Panthers deal, but they put forward a proposal to the city of Charlotte for $650 million in public funds out of a total of 800 to 850 million, and I think over 100 million has already been invested by TSE. So this request is almost entirely city taxpayer funds that they're asking to modernize the stadium. There's a lot of cosmetics, some lighting. They'd be removing some of the seating from the upper bowl and making that into more of a social area. They'd be adding some new kind of skyline seats with a better view. And there's nothing really specifically about soccer in here to make Bank of America Stadium more Charlotte FC or international soccer friendly. That was surprising to me ahead of the World Cup and even the Summer Copa America, just getting that news out there and having something, a little bit of red meat for the soccer fans seemed like an easy win. But this is a real tough ask. We're in an era where asking for public funds and tax money is getting, as much skepticism as ever across the country. Some of these deals are still going through, but from what I read kind of between the lines, it seems like this may be a first proposal and there may be some developments later on regarding updates to the plan. Hopefully we can get some more soccer-specific concessions. I know they want to hold more entertainment events. I would love it personally if there was something in there about a removable field or some kind of a transition where they can have a synthetic surface or easily bring in a natural grass surface for events that would require it, such as soccer games. And I know certainly the NFL players would like that as well. So maybe you have a permanent synthetic surface and then there's some sort of a modular attachment that can go over the top of that for a natural field. I've heard of and seen things like that in the past. Obviously, we can talk about some of the European clubs that have interchangeable fields. I think that's way outside the scope of this budget. But, I'd like to see an actual renovation to the stadium. There's nothing about a roof. I know some people are talking about a dome. Personally, a partially retractable roof, at least something that could provide, an awning or some kind of cover for the stands is what I would like to see, where we can still take advantage of the skyline of Charlotte. We can still have the views and still have a picturesque setting and maybe exposure to the sun on good days, but we can provide some cover like some of the English stadiums do when the rain comes, which obviously we've had issues with the last few years, especially during the summertime. We get these summertime storms and, providing something for the fans would be great on that. Once again, I'm not seeing that with this proposal. It seems like a lot of taxpayer funds. I've seen some commentary about, the taxpayer funds associated with the tourism tax, which is what they're going after, should be used on something that will bring in new visitors to the city. And there's a lot of skepticism from some corners about whether or not modernizing Bank of America Stadium will bring in additional visitors. I can certainly understand that. We get a lot of visiting fans as it is for Panthers games. For Charlotte FC, we certainly fill up the bank a lot more than the Panthers do, but nothing in there for us. So I'm not super optimistic about this. I think I would need more information. I would like to see, in general, across the country, more of these billionaire owners put up their own personal funds to invest in their stadiums. I don't think that's necessarily a municipal responsibility. I think we've seen over the last few decades that municipalities that do invest in this sort of stadium renovations and rebuilding efforts, they don't get a return on the investment. So I would like to see a little bit more capitalism in play where the owners do that for themselves. I do know part of this deal, though, is if the city approves it, they would lock in the Panthers to stay in Charlotte for another 20 years with a soft option for another 5. So I think part of this is assuring the city that the football team will continue to play here and not be relocated. So using the pro franchise as a little bit of a hostage. I didn't see anything about Charlotte FC in there. I certainly hope that we wouldn't move the Charlotte FC somewhere else unless it was to a soccer specific stadium within the same city. I know there are some locations that have been kind of floated for that, but no concrete plans or proposals. So anyway, we can talk more about this. I would love to hear Cole's thoughts on this renovation plan, but just want to throw that out there. Some more news of the day. And moving on, the soccer tournament, a massive exhibition tournament. That's starting tomorrow in Cary, North Carolina at Wake Med Soccer Park. I'm going to be bringing you guys the action here on the Queen City Soccer Show podcast feed. Just to wrap things up, any thoughts on the soccer tournament before we head out of here? Because that is going to be consuming my life for the rest of the week.
I mean, I'm not really that far from Cary. I'm in Elon, North Carolina right now, so maybe I have to take a day and visit the tournament. Maybe skip one class.
There you go, bud. Absolutely, man. Tickets are on sale. That'll do it for this episode. Thank you guys for joining us. This is kind of a weird one. Like I said, Cole's out on vacation. I'm Level Up Luke. You can find me on Twitter at LVLUP_Luke. You can find the podcast at QCS Pod on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and at QCS Pod _ on Instagram. We're brought to you by Level Up Home Consultants, Level Up Your Home. And we're brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek, for your next sporting event, use code QCSPod to receive $20 off your ticket. It's been a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, and I will catch you probably in your feed tomorrow with an update on TST. But in the meantime, for the crown, up the Jacks.